I'm about to 3D print and paint the most important miniatures of my life.
For this project, we're going to be using the Frozen Aqua Gray 4K resin and pair it with the Frozen Muddy 4K printer because the detail on this printer is amazing and it's always been super consistent for me.
These are really special miniatures from Antimatter Games for their new Deep Wars Kickstarter.
We're going to be printing up 2 battle groups. The first are the Fortune Hunters and the other are the Dark Mariners Warbands. And as you can see here, this Kickstarter has tons of amazing miniatures.
Okay, so the question is, what makes these miniatures the most important miniatures of my life? Well, if I can 3D print and paint these good enough, they're going to be featured in the rulebook that Antimatter Games publishes as a part of this Kickstarter, and that's always been a dream of mine to have something that I made in a rulebook. And I got these things when they're brand new, so new in fact that some of them don't even have the pre-supports yet because they haven't even gotten to that step.
I threw these minis in the Chi 2 Box Pro and I got to work adding the supports. I like to tilt everything on an angle, and then of course always add some extra supports on your bases and make sure they adhere to that bed. The minis, I like to tilt them back 10 to 15 degrees and then add some auto supports, and Chi 2 Box Pro is great at adding auto supports. But of course, I always add a few to the feet and then slowly check the miniature and try to find any unsupported islands. And then when I find them, I just add a support. And then before I knew it, I had all these miniatures supported, and I always like to export them as an STL. Now, these things are all going to come pre-support from Antimatter Games as well, so it's important to note that. Of course, the Frozen Muddy 4K is an amazing printer. I just love this machine. It's got a big print volume and it always produces amazing consistent results.
Pulling minis out of this thing is always my favorite part. Fingers crossed we got some good prints. From what I can tell, while they're still sitting in their build plate here, and the supports are surrounding them, but it looks like we got some really nice prints and it looks like we got no issues with our supports. Deadly, that's a way to start off this video.
I went ahead and loaded up that big build plate and printed out the second group of minis, the Dark Mariners Warband. As you can see here guys, this printer has some amazing specs and can produce some really detailed prints, that's for sure. Just look at those prints, absolutely perfect. Build plate adhesion is great. And then it's just a matter of removing the supports, a bath in alcohol, and a cure with some UV light, and these prints are ready for processing. I really want to say thank you to my Patreons. You guys rock. You're allowing me to bring this channel to new heights. If any of you out there are interested in my Patreon, I'll link it in the description below. Check it out. That was a beautiful print. You can join the facility by hitting the subscribe button. We're always making cool stuff here, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy dioramas, 3D printing or painting. I do my best to reach out to you guys and respond to every single comment, so go ahead, smash that subscribe button and come along for the ride. And here we can see the Fortune Hunters all ready to go, as well as the Dark Mariners. 2 warbands ready to roll. Now, I wasn't quite done there because I also printed a few more cool miniatures from Antimatter Games, like this submarine. Super tall prints, this is where that build volume comes in handy. Then it was time to assemble this bad boy. These pieces were supposed to be printed in clear, but I didn't have any clear resin. So I went ahead and salvaged the nose and decided to have no glass in the cockpit. I wanted to make sure you can see that submarine driver. The Argonaut sub, all done. Then it was the Beast of Kronos. This thing was a really cool print too.
So it looks like we may have a little bit of an issue with this one. You can see it pulled from the build plate a little bit. That's definitely because of suction force. I think the model is okay, but I'm not gonna know for sure until I get the head on it, I get it on its base, but I think we might be okay here.
Then it was time to assemble it. Nothing to it. I gotta say the base on the sub and this beast is very detailed as well. Now the plan here was to paint it like I did for the Sunken Citadel, using these type of colors to match this aesthetic. And the sweet terrain system for the Sunken Citadel was made by LV427 Designs.
If you're a fan of sci-fi tabletop gaming, then LV427 Designs has got you covered. They make some amazing interior designs for spaceships, space stations, and complexes for all your favorite genres, from Warhammer 40k, Space Hulk, Star Trek, Star Wars, and my favorite, Aliens. There's a link below to their website and a coupon code for 25% off. Make sure to check it out and pick yourself up some cool stuff.
I primed these guys up and got ready to paint. The prints came out perfect. Now it's time to use my Army Painter paints and see if I can't do a really good job painting these minis. Good enough that they'll land themselves in a rule book. And yup, you're not crazy. I actually started out using the slap chop method with some dry brushing of the undertones. A little bit of gray, followed by a little bit of white. But for the beast, I went ahead and used my airbrush just to make some more natural looking highlights. Again, gray and white. And there's just something about this type of priming that makes these minis look really cool. Next up, some Army Painter speed paint mixed 50-50 with water. And then I blasted this beast, and you can see those pre-shadings really come to life. I picked out the mouth and teeth, a little bit of highlighting. The sub, same method, blasting some speed paints through my airbrush. I even hit this miniature little sub. And I gotta say, the Zealot Yellow was actually amazing through the airbrush. And the Fortune Hunters as well. All airbrush work with my contrast paint. Some of them I went in with a lighter color and actually dry brushed it again just to make some highlights pop. Each one of these guys had a different color armor. Continued on using speed paints. Very carefully. Try to keep clean lines. Even done the details on this cockpit. Next up was some bronze and a dry brush to try to make a really weathered underwater armor. The sub as well got the same treatment. Picked out some details like the golds. And then finally, Army Painter Shade, Strong Tone, and I washed the whole model down to try to make those metallics just not so vivid. It was pretty cool, but then it was time for the Dark Mariners, which would give me 2 warbands for this amazing game by Antimatter Games, and I want to tell you all about this box set. Antimatter Games and LV427 Designs are teaming up to produce Deep Water's Sunken Citdael, a 3D printable tabletop game for 2 or more players launching on January 30th, 2023. This adventure game is set in the Uncharted Realms world and is compatible with all other Deep Wars products and models from Dark Sword Miniatures. The Sunken Citdael is an underwater research station that lost contact with the surface kingdoms after a mysterious experiment went awry. One of the players controls a warband of mercenary divers and pirates, the Breach Team, set in to regain control of the station. The other player controls the invaders, corrupted remnants of the station crew, and terrifying beings of the ethereal void that have taken over the station. Wild creatures also lurk in and around the station, hunting down any members of the Breach Team or invaders. This Kickstarter's box set is going to include a ton of stuff, from miniatures to tiles to rule books, dice, markers, templates, everything you're going to need to play this. And good news, the Kickstarter funded, late pledges are available, and to celebrate, I fired up the Frozen Mighty 4K one more time and printed some more amazing miniatures by Antimatter Games. I'm going to link all this below, make sure to check it out. And I gotta say that the Beasts of Chronos came out amazing. The speed paints really helped bring that pre-shading to life. And the bases that they're on are like these little reefs, and the colors really work well with the table that I built. Here you can see the Fortune Hunters. Kind of got some Power Ranger vibes on the go with all these colors, but I feel like it really works together and I'm really happy with them. Can't forget the Dark Mariners. Painted these in the same way. Turned out amazing. Very happy with them. I can only hope that Antimatter Games likes them enough to feature them in the rulebook, but I'm not going to know that until the material is actually published, so fingers crossed. But I gotta say, my favorite is definitely the sub. An amazing miniature, an amazing paint job. And here we have it, 2 little factions for this really cool game. Guys, I've got a whole bunch of awesome videos on my channel. Stick around, check them out. Don't forget to smash subscribe, because we're always making cool stuff here at Facility D20.